The council chamber stretched wide and tall, built to make visitors feel small. 7 species sat in raised seats, looking down at the single human woman who stood on the floor below them. Ambassador Lisa Morgan had been coming to this place for 3 years now, and she had learned to hate every stone of it. Council Prime Zethric rose from his seat. His species, the Calixians, had ruled the council for 2 centuries. His skin was blue and marked with age lines that his people considered signs of wisdom. To Lisa, they just made him look tired and mean. "The decision has been made," Zethric said. His voice echoed in the chamber, made louder by speakers built into the walls. "Earth will surrender its outer colonies. All human settlements beyond your home system will fall under council jurisdiction. You have 30 days to comply." Lisa felt her jaw tighten. She had expected this, but hearing it still made her angry. "And if Earth refuses? Then we will enforce compliance." The speaker this time was Commander Vexoth, a Draxan military officer who stood beside the council seats. His species looked like bipedal lizards, covered in dark red scales. He smiled when he spoke, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Your species has avoided conflict since joining the galactic community. We know this means you are weak. A strong species does not hide from war." Lisa wanted to laugh at that, but she kept her face neutral. She had tried to explain this to them before, many times. Humanity did not avoid conflict because they were afraid. They avoided it because they knew what they were capable of, because they remembered their own history, the centuries of warfare that had nearly destroyed them, because they had learned that being able to fight and choosing to fight were 2 different things. But the council never listened. "You mistake restraint for weakness," Lisa said carefully. "That is a dangerous mistake." Zethric waved one hand in dismissal. "We have observed your vessels. We have studied your technology. You have exploration ships and cargo haulers. You have a small defense force that patrols your borders. This is not the fleet of a warrior species." "What you have seen," Lisa said, "are our civilian ships." "Then show us your military vessels," Vexoth challenged. "Let us see this great fleet you claim to hide." Lisa looked at him for a long moment. "You really want that?" "We demand it," Zethric said. "Show us your strength, or accept that you have none." Lisa reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button on it. The holographic display in the center of the chamber flickered and changed. Instead of showing the council logo, it now showed an image of a warship. The vessel was dark gray, angular, and covered in weapon systems. It dwarfed anything the council species had built. "This is the EDF Retribution," Lisa said quietly. "A Dreadnought-class warship. Earth has 40 of them. We have 200 cruisers, 400 destroyers, and 600 corvettes. We have weapons you have never seen. We have shields that can absorb hits from your most powerful cannons. We have soldiers who train from childhood for war." The council chamber was silent. Several of the council members leaned forward in their seats, staring at the image. "You lie," Vexoth said, but his voice had lost some of its confidence. "If you had such a fleet, we would know. Our intelligence networks would have found it." "Your intelligence networks see what we let them see?" Lisa said. "We have been in your data system since the day we joined the galactic community. We know everything about you. Your fleet strength, your defensive positions, your supply lines, everything." Zethric stood again. His face had gone darker, a sign of anger in his species. "You dare to spy on the council?" "Every species spies on every other species," Lisa said. "You spy on us. We spy on you. The difference is, we are better at it." "This changes nothing," Zethric said. "Even if you have the fleet you claim, you cannot stand against the combined might of the Council. We have 7 species, thousands of ships, hundreds of worlds. You are one planet with a handful of colonies. Lisa smiled then, and it was not a friendly expression. We are one species that has spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing each other. We have fought wars that killed billions. We have built weapons that can crack planets. We stopped doing those things because we chose to, not because we had to. She pointed at the holographic display. You think numbers matter? You think having more ships means you will win? Let me tell you something about humans. We do not fight for honor. We do not fight for glory. When we fight to win. And we are very, very good at it. The chamber was quiet again. Some of the council members looked uncertain now, but Zethric straightened his shoulders and looked down at her with cold eyes. Then you choose war, he said. No, Lisa said. You chose war the moment you made that ultimatum. We are just choosing not to lose. She turned and walked toward the exit. Behind her, Zethric called out, You have 30 days, Ambassador Morgan. After that, we will show you what happens to species who defy the Council. Lisa stopped at the door and looked back. Save your threats. In 30 days, you will be the ones begging for terms. She left the chamber. The door closed behind her with a heavy sound that echoed like thunder. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath Geneva, Admiral Kyle Henderson stood in front of a wall of screens. Each screen showed a different part of human space. Colony worlds, defense stations, fleet positions. Everything was ready. The door to the command center opened, and his second-in-command walked in. Captain Derek Shaw was young for his rank, only 35, but he had proven himself in the border skirmishes against pirates and raiders. His face was serious as he handed Henderson a datapad. The ambassador just sent the report, Shaw said. The council issued the ultimatum just as we expected. 30 days. Henderson read the report in silence. When he finished, he looked up at the screens again. Send the word to all fleet commanders. Activate the war protocols. I want every ship ready to move in 6 hours. Yes, sir. Shaw hesitated. Do you think they will actually attack? Yes, Henderson said. They believe we are weak. They believe we will surrender when they show their strength. They have no idea what they are about to face. And if they back down? Henderson smiled grimly. They won't. Species like the Council never back down. They have been in power too long. They think they are untouchable. He turned to look at Shaw. Make sure every captain understands the mission. When the Council comes, we do not just defeat them. We break them so completely that they never threaten humanity again. Shaw nodded. Understood, sir. As Shaw left to carry out his orders, Henderson looked at the screens again. Somewhere out in the darkness of space, the Council was preparing their fleets. They were confident, arrogant, certain of their victory. They were about to learn a hard lesson. Humanity had been peaceful for 40 years, but peace was a choice, not a weakness. And when that choice was taken away, when humanity was forced to fight, they would show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. The 30-day countdown had begun. The Council thought it was time for humanity to prepare for defeat. Instead, it was time for the Council to prepare for destruction. Admiral Kyle Henderson had fought in wars before. He had seen what humanity could do when pushed to the edge. He had seen cities burn and fleets shatter. He had seen the face of human warfare, stripped of mercy and restraint. The Council was about to see it too, and they would never forget it. The Council fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Proxima system. 200 warships, all painted in the bright colors that Council species used to show their power and status. Commander Vexoth stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominant Fire, and watched the scan reports come in. The human colony station is ahead, his tactical officer reported. We detect 20 human vessels in defensive positions around it. Vexoth bared his teeth in what his species considered a smile. 20 ships against 200. The humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. He suspected it was the latter. "Any response to our arrival?" he asked. "Yes, Commander. The human fleet is hailing us. Put it through." The view screen flickered and a human face appeared. The man was in his 40s with short dark hair and cold eyes. He wore a gray uniform with rank insignia that Vexoth did not recognize. "I am Captain Derek Shaw, of the Earth Defense Force Ship Retribution," the human said. His voice was calm, almost bored. "You are entering human territory. Turn back now." Vexoth laughed. The sound echoed across his bridge, and several of his crew joined in. "You face 200 warships with only 20 of your own, and you demand that we retreat? Your courage is admirable, human, but your judgment is poor." "This is your only warning," Shaw said. "Leave now, or face the consequences." "The only consequence here will be your surrender," Vexoth said. He gestured to his weapons officer. "Target their ships. Prepare to fire." Shaw's expression did not change. "So be it." The transmission ended. Vexoth turned to his fleet coordinator. "All ships, attack formation. Destroy the human vessels." The Council fleet moved forward, spreading out into a standard attack pattern that had been used successfully for centuries. Their ships were larger than the human vessels, and their weapons had greater range. By every measure the Council used to judge military power, this battle was already over. The first shots came from the Council ships. Bright beams of energy lanced across the darkness, targeting the human vessels. Vexoth expected to see the human shields fail immediately. Instead, the beams hit the human ships and seemed to splash off like water hitting stone. "Report," Vexoth demanded. "Their shields absorbed the full impact, Commander," the tactical officer said, his voice confused. "No damage detected." "Impossible. Increase power. All ships. Maximum firepower." The Council fleet opened up with everything they had. Hundreds of weapons fired at once, filling space with deadly energy. The human ships sat in the storm of fire, their shields holding steady. Then they fired back. The human weapons were different from anything the Council used. Instead of energy beams, they fired solid projectiles that moved at incredible speeds. But these were not simple bullets. Each round contained a small fusion reactor that detonated on impact, releasing massive amounts of energy directly into the target. The first Council ship to be hit was a cruiser from the Calixian fleet. The human projectile punched through its shields as if they were not there, struck the hull, and exploded. The cruiser broke in half, its reactor going critical seconds later. The explosion lit up the battlefield. "Evasive action!" Vexoth shouted. "Return fire!" But the human ships were already moving. They were faster than they should have been, more agile than vessels their size had any right to be. They dodged between Council ships, their weapons firing with perfect accuracy. Each shot hit exactly where it was meant to, targeting critical systems and weak points. In the first 10 minutes of battle, the Council lost 15 ships. "Get me reinforcements," Vexoth ordered. "Now." "Commander, we are the reinforcements," his second officer said. "We brought 200 ships. How many more do you think we need?" Vexoth did not answer. He was watching the tactical display, trying to understand what was happening. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, as if they were one mind controlling 20 bodies. Their weapons never missed, their shields never failed, and they were systematically destroying his fleet. "New contacts," the sensor officer called out. "Multiple ships dropping out of FTL." Vexoth's blood went cold. "How many?" 20, 40, 60. The officer's voice rose in panic. 200 ships, Commander. 200 human warships all around us." The trap closed. The 20 human ships that had been defending the station were not the defense force. They were bait. The real fleet had been waiting in stealth, hiding behind some kind of technology that made them invisible to Council sensors. Now they appeared from every direction, surrounding the Council fleet completely. Captain Shaw's face appeared on the view screen again. I gave you a warning, he said. You chose not to listen. Now you face the consequences. This is a violation of the laws of war, Vexoth said, his voice desperate. You ambushed us. You used deception. There are no laws in war, Shaw said coldly. There is only victory and defeat. You are about to learn which one you chose. The human fleet opened fire, 220 ships against what was left of the Council's 200. But it was not an even fight. The human ships were superior in every way. Better shields, better weapons, better tactics, better training. The battle became a slaughter. Council ships tried to fight back, but their weapons could not penetrate human shields. They tried to run, but human ships were faster. They tried to coordinate, but the humans jammed their communications and turned their fleet into a confused mob. Vexoth watched his fleet die around him. Ship after ship exploded or went dark, their crews killed or surrendering. He had started this battle with 200 vessels. After 1 hour, he had less than 70. His communications officer turned to him. Commander, we are receiving a transmission from Captain Shaw. He offers us a chance to withdraw. Vexoth felt rage burn through him. Withdraw? Flee like a coward? He was a commander of the Council's military. His honor demanded that he fight to the end. Tell the human we refuse, he said. All remaining ships, concentrate fire on their flagship. We will take at least one of them down before we fall. The surviving Council ships turned toward the Retribution and fired everything they had. For a moment, Vexoth thought they might actually damage the human ship. The shields flickered under the concentrated assault. Then the Retribution fired back. A single shot from its main weapon, a massive railgun that ran the length of the ship. The projectile hit the dominant fire's shields and tore through them like paper. It struck the bridge section directly. Vexoth had 1 second to realize his mistake, 1 second to understand that pride and honor meant nothing in the face of overwhelming force. 1 second to regret not listening to the human ambassador's warning. Then the bridge exploded, and Commander Vexoth died, along with 200 crew members and his ship. The battle was over. Of the 200 Council ships that had entered the Proxima system, only 43 survived. They fled in disorder, jumping to FTL as quickly as they could calculate coordinates. Captain Shaw watched them go. His ship had not even been seriously damaged. None of the human ships had. They had lost exactly 0 vessels in the battle. Lieutenant Amy Richardson, his tactical officer, turned to him. Should we pursue, Captain? No, Shaw said. Let them run. Let them go back to the Council and tell them what happened here. Let them spread the word about what happens when you attack humanity. He looked at the debris field that floated where the Council fleet had been. Hundreds of thousands of aliens were dead. He felt no joy in that. War was not something to celebrate, but it was necessary, and when it was necessary, humanity would prosecute it with ruthless efficiency. Send a message to Admiral Henderson, Shaw said. Proxima Station is secure. First engagement successful. No human casualties. Yes, sir. Shaw turned away from the view screen. The battle was won, but the war had just begun. The Council would not stop with this defeat. Their pride would demand revenge. They would gather a larger fleet, more ships, more weapons, and humanity would be ready for them. In the Council chambers, news of the disaster at Proxima Station arrived like a thunderbolt. Zethric listened to the report from one of the surviving ship captains, his face growing darker with each word. 200 ships destroyed or captured, he said, his voice shaking. By 20 human vessels? There were more, Council Prime, the captain said. His image on the view screen was haunted. They ambushed us. They had 200 ships hiding somehow. Our sensors never detected them until it was too late. And Commander Vexoth? Dead, along with most of the fleet commanders. Zethric sat down heavily. Around him, the other council members were silent, shocked by the news. They had expected an easy victory. They had expected humanity to surrender after a show of force. Instead, They had lost an entire enforcement fleet. "This changes nothing," Zethric said, but his voice lacked conviction. "We have more ships. We will gather the Grand Fleet and crush them." But in his hearts, all three of them, Zethric was beginning to doubt. The humans had warned them. Ambassador Morgan had stood in this very chamber and told them they were making a mistake, and they had not listened. The emergency session of the Galactic Council lasted 3 days. Representatives from all 7 elder species argued, shouted, and blamed each other for the disaster at Proxima Station. But in the end, they agreed on one thing: humanity had to be stopped. Council Prime Zethric stood before the assembled representatives. He looked older than he had a week ago. The defeat had shaken him, but his pride remained intact. "We underestimated the humans," he said. "We will not make that mistake again. I propose we mobilize the Grand Fleet, every warship from every member species. We will gather a force so large that humanity cannot possibly stand against it." Council Military Director Thraxus clicked his mandibles in agreement. His species, the Zethians, resembled giant insects with hard exoskeletons and multiple arms. "I calculate we can assemble 1,200 warships within 2 months. We will strike at Earth itself. Without their homeworld, their colonies will fall quickly." "What about the other member species?" asked one of the representatives. "Many of them are questioning our leadership after this defeat." "They will obey or face consequences," Zethric said flatly. "Any species that refuses to provide ships for the Grand Fleet will be declared hostile to the Council's interests." The vote was unanimous. The Grand Fleet would be assembled, humanity would be destroyed, the Council's authority would be restored. But as the meeting ended and the representatives left the chamber, none of them noticed the small device hidden in the ventilation system. None of them realized that every word they had spoken had been recorded and transmitted to Earth. General Nathan Cross sat in Earth's military headquarters and watched the recording of the council meeting. He was a tall man in his 50s, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. He commanded all of Earth's joint forces, and he had been planning for this moment since the day the council first made their ultimatum. "They are gathering 1,200 ships," said Dr. Christine Palmer, who stood beside him. She was the chief of Earth's Advanced Weapons Division, the woman responsible for many of the technologies that had made the victory at Proxima possible. "That is a massive force, General." "Yes," Cross said. "Too massive to engage directly, even for us." He turned to the holographic display that showed a map of Council space. "Which is why we are not going to engage them directly. We are going to make them bleed before they ever reach Earth." He pressed a button, and the display changed. Red markers appeared across Council space, each one representing a target. Military shipyards, supply depots, communication relays, fuel refineries, hundreds of targets, all critical to the Council's war effort. "Activate Phantom Protocol," Cross said. "All stealth carrier groups, begin operations immediately." Around Council space, human ships began to move. These were not the warships that had fought at Proxima. These were special vessels, designed for infiltration and hit-and-run attacks. They were smaller, faster, and equipped with the most advanced stealth technology Earth had developed. The first target was a Calixian shipyard in orbit around their primary colony world. The yard was building new warships for the Grand Fleet. It was defended by a squadron of patrol vessels and protected by powerful shields. None of it mattered. The human stealth ship approached undetected. It launched a spread of missiles that used the same stealth technology as the ship itself. The missiles penetrated the shields without triggering alarms, struck the shipyard's main reactor, and detonated. The explosion destroyed 3 partially built warships and crippled the shipyard. By the time the Calixian defenders responded, the human ship was already gone, jumping to its next target. Similar attacks happened across Council space. Supply depots exploded. Communication relays went dark. Fuel refineries burned. The Council's military infrastructure began to crumble, but Earth did not stop there. General Cross authorized the second phase of his plan. Every species in Council space began receiving transmissions, videos, documents, financial records, all of it showing the truth about the Galactic Council, how they had exploited member species for centuries, how they had kept advanced technology for themselves while forcing others to remain dependent, how they had planned to enslave humanity and use human resources to maintain their power. The evidence was damning and impossible to ignore. Within days, protests erupted on dozens of worlds. Species that had been loyal to the Council for generations began to question their allegiance. Some declared neutrality, others openly sided with humanity. The Council tried to suppress the information, but it was too late. Earth had planted the seeds of doubt, and those seeds were growing into full rebellion. Zethric watched his authority crumble. Every day brought new reports of attacks, defections, and chaos. The Grand Fleet was still assembling, but slowly. Many species were reluctant to send their ships now. Some claimed they needed them for defense against the human attacks. Others simply refused. "We must strike back," Thraxus insisted during yet another emergency meeting. "We look weak. We look helpless." "Strike back at what?" Zethric asked bitterly. "We cannot even see the human ships before they attack. Our sensors are useless against their stealth technology. By the time we respond, they are gone." "Then we must force them into open battle," Thraxus said. "We still have the Calixian Gate. It is the primary route for human supply lines into their outer colonies. If we seize it, they will have to fight us to take it back." Zethric considered this. The Calixian Gate was a strategic jump point that allowed faster-than-light travel between different regions of space. If the Council controlled it, they could cut off human access to half their colonies. "How many ships can we send?" he asked. 500, Thraxus said. "More than enough to hold the gate against any human attack." "Do it." The Council fleet moved to secure the Calixian Gate. 500 warships, one of the largest forces assembled since the start of the war. They set up defensive positions around the gate, confident that they could hold it against anything humanity threw at them. Admiral Kyle Henderson received the intelligence report about the Council fleet at the gate. He read it carefully, then smiled. "They are giving us exactly what we want," he said to his staff officers. "An enemy fleet in a fixed position, defending a location they cannot abandon." "How many ships should we send, Admiral?" asked his tactical coordinator. "All of them," Henderson said. "This is not just about taking the gate. This is about showing the Council that they cannot win, no matter how many ships they gather." The Earth Defense Fleet mobilized. 800 warships, the largest concentration of human military power ever assembled. They jumped into the system where the Calixian Gate was located and found the Council fleet waiting. The battle began immediately. The Council ships opened fire from their defensive positions, using the gate's gravity well to their advantage. But Henderson had planned for this. His fleet split into 3 groups, attacking from different angles and forcing the Council to divide their attention. The battle lasted 6 hours. It was brutal and destructive. The Council fought with desperation, knowing that losing this position would be a catastrophic blow. They threw everything they had at the human fleet. But humanity fought with precision and overwhelming technological superiority. Every human ship was equipped with weapons that outranged Council guns. Every human captain had been trained for exactly this kind of battle. Every human tactical officer used advanced AI systems to predict enemy movements and coordinate fire. The Council fleet broke. Ships began to retreat, jumping away from the battle as quickly as they could. But Henderson had placed ambush groups at all the likely jump points. The fleeing Council ships jumped directly into human attack formations and were destroyed before they could react. When the battle ended, the Council had lost 400 ships, Earth had lost 12. Henderson stood on the bridge of his flagship, the EDF Sovereign, and looked at the Calixian Gate. It was now under human control. The supply lines were secure, and the Council had suffered another devastating defeat. "Send a message to all Council worlds," he said. "Tell them the gate is ours. Tell them that any ship that approaches will be destroyed. And tell them that this is just the beginning." Lieutenant Amy Richardson, who had been promoted and transferred to Henderson's staff after her performance at Proxima, looked at the Admiral with concern. "Sir, the Council still has hundreds of ships gathering for their grand fleet. Will we have enough forces to stop them when they attack Earth?" Henderson nodded slowly. "They will come. They have to. Their pride demands it. But by the time they reach Earth, they will already be defeated. They just do not know it yet." On the Council station, Zethric received the news of the disaster at the Calixian Gate. He said nothing for a long time. Around him, the other Council members were silent, their faces showing fear and despair. Finally, Zethric spoke. "How many ships do we have left?" "In the Grand Fleet? About 800, Thraxus said. His mandibles clicked nervously. "Less than we hoped, but still a significant force. Is it enough?" "It has to be," Thraxus said. "We have no other option. If we do not attack now, the member species will abandon us completely. Some already have. We must show strength, or we will lose everything." Zethric looked at the star map on the chamber's main display. Earth was marked in red, a target that had seemed so easy just weeks ago. Now it looked like a fortress, defended by a military force that had proven itself superior in every engagement. "Send the order," Zethric said quietly. "The Grand Fleet will advance to Earth. We will end this war, one way or another." But even as he gave the order, Zethric knew the truth. The Council had already lost. They were just too proud to admit it. The only question now was how much more they would have to lose before they accepted reality. The Grand Fleet began its final journey toward Earth. 800 ships, carrying the hopes and fears of the dying Council. They believed their numbers would be enough. They believed that humanity could not possibly stand against such a force. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The Council's Grand Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 800 warships, the largest military force ever assembled in known galactic history. They spread out in formation, their weapons ready, their crews nervous but determined. Council Prime Zethric watched from the command ship. He had insisted on being present for this final battle. If the Council was to fall, he would fall with it. If they were to triumph, he would witness the victory personally. "Scan the system," he ordered. "Find the human fleet." The sensor officer worked at his console for several moments. When he looked up, his face was pale. "Council Prime, I have found them." "Where?" "Everywhere." The tactical display updated, and Zethric felt his blood turn cold. The human fleet was not hiding. It was not running. It was waiting in perfect formation between the Council fleet and Earth. 800 ships matching the Council's numbers exactly. But these were not exploration vessels or cargo haulers. These were warships, every one of them. And they were arrayed in a defensive formation that looked unbreakable. Admiral Kyle Henderson stood on the bridge of the EDF Sovereign, watching the Council fleet on his displays. He had fought in many battles, but never won this large. 800 enemy ships. The fate of humanity rested on the outcome of the next few hours. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his communications officer said. "Good." Henderson activated the fleet-wide channel. "This is Admiral Henderson to all Earth Defense Force vessels. Today the Council comes to take our freedom. They come to enslave us. They come because they believe we are weak." He paused. "Show them how wrong they are." 800 voices responded as one. "Yes, sir." Henderson opened a channel to the Council fleet. Zethric's face appeared on the view screen, old and tired but still defiant. "Surrender now, and we will allow you to return to your homeworld," Zethric said. "Continue this resistance, and we will destroy every human ship and occupy every human world." Henderson smiled coldly. "You still do not understand. This is not about whether you can destroy us. This is about how much you are willing to lose in the attempt." "We outnumber you," Zethric said. "We have 800 ships." "So do we," Henderson replied. "But ours are better. Our weapons are stronger. Our shields are tougher. Our crews are trained to a level you cannot match. You are about to lose this war, Council Prime. The only question is how many of your people have to die before you accept it." Zethric's face hardened. "Then let us settle this. All ships, attack." The Council fleet surged forward. 800 warships against 800, the largest battle ever fought in space. The distance between the fleets closed rapidly as both sides accelerated toward each other. The Council fired first. Thousands of weapons opened up at once, filling space with deadly energy. The barrage struck the human defensive line with enough power to vaporize planets. The human shields held. Every ship absorbed the incoming fire, their defensive systems working in perfect harmony. Some shields flickered, some showed strain, but none failed. Then the humans fired back. The difference was immediate and devastating. The human weapons were not just powerful. They were precise. Each shot was calculated by advanced AI systems, targeting specific weak points in Council ship designs. The projectiles carried warheads that used quantum disruption technology, tearing matter apart at the atomic level. The first wave of human fire destroyed 40 Council ships. Just like that, in the first exchange, the Council lost 40 vessels. "Impossible," Zethric whispered. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically, trying to understand what had happened. But there was no time to think. The battle had begun, and it was not going to stop until one side or the other was destroyed. The fight raged for 3 days. It was brutal and unforgiving. The Council threw everything they had at the human fleet. They coordinated attacks, they tried new tactics, they fought with the desperation of species facing extinction. None of it mattered. The humans were simply better. Their ships moved with precision that seemed impossible. Their weapons never missed. Their tactics adapted to every Council strategy within minutes. It was like fighting against a single mind that controlled 800 bodies. On the second day, the Council realized that the human fleet was using artificial intelligence to coordinate their attacks. Not just basic computer systems, but true AI that could think and adapt faster than any organic crew. The Council had banned such technology centuries ago, fearing what might happen if machines became too intelligent. Humanity had no such fears. They had built AI and made it their partner, not their servant or their master. The result was a level of tactical coordination that the Council could not match. Captain Derek Shaw commanded a squadron of 20 destroyers. His mission was to break through the Council's center line and cause chaos in their formation. He executed the plan perfectly, his ships moving in a pattern that seemed random but was actually calculated to exploit weaknesses in the enemy formation. His squadron destroyed 15 Council ships and crippled 30 more before withdrawing to regroup. He lost 1 destroyer in the process. Similar actions were happening across the battlefield. Human ships struck hard, withdrew, and struck again. They used tactics that the Council had never seen before, that broke every rule of what the Council considered honorable warfare. The humans did not care about honor. They cared about winning. By the end of the second day, the Council had lost 300 ships. Earth had lost 40. Zethric watched the battle reports with growing horror. This was not war. This was extermination. The human fleet was systematically destroying his forces, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. "We must retreat," his second-in-command said. "If we stay, they will destroy us all." "We cannot retreat," Zethric said. "If we run now, the Council is finished. Every member species will abandon us. We will have nothing." "If we stay, We will have nothing anyway. We will all be dead. Zethric knew he was right. But pride, that terrible pride that had led the council to this point, still held him. "One more day," he said. "We fight for one more day." The third day of battle was the bloodiest. The council fleet, now reduced to less than 500 ships, threw itself at the human lines in a desperate final assault. They fought with the courage of doomed species, knowing they would likely not survive but refusing to give up. The humans met them with ruthless efficiency. Admiral Henderson had given his fleet a simple order that morning: end this. The human ships concentrated their fire, destroying council vessels faster than they could be replaced. The quantum disruption weapons tore through hulls and shields like they were made of paper. Human fighters swarmed around larger council ships, targeting their weapons and engines with surgical precision. By late afternoon, the council fleet was broken. Of the 800 ships that had entered the battle, fewer than 300 remained operational. Many of those were badly damaged, limping along on failing engines and compromised life support. Henderson opened a channel to what was left of the council command structure.Zethric's face appeared on screen again. The old alien looked defeated, all his arrogance gone. "This is your last chance," Henderson said. "Withdraw now, or I will destroy every remaining ship you have." Zethric looked at him for a long moment. Behind the alien's eyes, Henderson could see the war that was happening inside him. Pride against survival, honor against reality. "What are your terms?" Zethric asked quietly. "Unconditional surrender," Henderson said. "You will withdraw all military forces from human space immediately. You will agree to a peace conference within 1 week, and you will accept whatever terms Earth decides to impose." "And if we refuse?" Henderson gestured to his tactical display. "Then I will bring my fleet to every council homeworld and burn them to ash. I will not kill your civilians. I will not target your cities, but I will destroy every military installation, every government building, and every ship you have left. I will leave your species alive but powerless." "You would commit such genocide?" Zethric asked. "It would not be genocide," Henderson said coldly. "Genocide is killing a species. What I am describing is destroying your ability to threaten others. There is a difference, but make no mistake. If you force my hand, I will do it. Earth did not want this war. You brought it to us. Now you will accept our terms for peace, or you will accept the consequences of continued war." Zethric closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he looked like he had aged 100 years. "We accept your terms." "Smart choice," Henderson said. He cut the connection and turned to his crew. "Signal all ships. Cease fire. The battle is over." Around Earth's solar system, the guns fell silent. The surviving council ships began to withdraw, limping away from the battlefield. They left behind a graveyard of debris and bodies. Hundreds of thousands of aliens had died in this battle. The council's power had been broken forever. On the council station, Ambassador Lisa Morgan watched as the reports came in. Species after species was announcing their withdrawal from the council. Some declared independence. Others asked for Earth's protection. A few even applied to join whatever new government humanity would create. She had warned them. Months ago, she had stood in the council chamber and told them that attacking humanity was a mistake. They had not listened. Now they were paying the price. Her communication device buzzed. It was a message from Admiral Henderson, short and simple. "It is done. They agreed to peace talks. You were right, Ambassador. They are begging for terms." Lisa looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the council fleet was retreating. Somewhere out there, billions of aliens were realizing that the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had been forced to show what they were capable of, and the galaxy would never forget it. The council chamber was nearly empty. Of the 7 elder species that had once ruled the galaxy, only 4 representatives remained. The others had been overthrown by their own people, replaced by leaders who wanted nothing to do with the failed war against humanity. Council Prime Zethric sat in his chair, looking smaller than he had before. The weight of defeat had broken something inside him. Beside him sat Thraxis, the military director whose mandibles no longer clicked with confidence. The other two representatives looked equally defeated. The chamber doors opened. Ambassador Lisa Morgan walked in, but she was not alone. Admiral Kyle Henderson walked beside her, his uniform crisp and his bearing military. Behind them came a dozen human officers and diplomats, all carrying data pads and documents. Lisa took her place on the chamber floor, where she had stood so many times before, always looking up at the council members. But today, she did not look up. Today, she looked straight ahead, at equals who had learned a hard lesson about power and consequences. Council Prime Zethric, she said formally, you agreed to hear Earth's terms for peace. We are here to present them. Zethric nodded slowly. We are listening. Lisa activated a holographic display. The terms appeared in the air, written in every major galactic language. She began to read them aloud. First, the Galactic Council will be dissolved immediately. Its authority over member species is ended. Any species that wishes to remain associated with the former council members may do so, but they will have no special privileges or powers over others. Thraxis started to object, but Zethric raised a hand to stop him. Continue, the old alien said. Second, a new government will be formed, the Galactic Federation. Every species will have equal representation. Decisions will be made by majority vote, not by the decree of elder species. No species will have veto power over others. That is chaos, one of the other representatives said. There are hundreds of species in council space. How can anything be accomplished if everyone has an equal voice? The same way humanity governs itself, Lisa said, with democracy, debate, and compromise. It is messy and slow, but it is fair. And it prevents any one group from dominating all the others, she continued. Third, all military restrictions on member species are lifted. Every species has the right to defend itself. No species will be forced to limit their weapons or their fleets. That will lead to wars, Thraxis said, his voice bitter. Perhaps, Admiral Henderson said, speaking for the first time. Or perhaps it will lead to peace, because every species will know that attacking another might cost them more than they can afford to lose. The Council kept others weak to maintain your power. That ends now. Lisa moved to the next point. Fourth, reparations. The former Council species will pay compensation to every species they exploited and every colony they damaged during this war. These payments will be calculated fairly and will continue until the debt is satisfied. That could take centuries, Zethric said. Then it takes centuries, Lisa replied. Your species ruled for 200 years. You grew wealthy from the labor and resources of others. Now you will return what you took. And if we cannot pay, Thraxis asked. Then you will pay what you can, Henderson said. We are not here to destroy your civilizations. We are here to make sure you never threaten others again. Lisa continued with the remaining terms. The establishment of a peacekeeping force, led by Earth but answerable to the Federation. The creation of laws of war, with clear rules about treatment of prisoners and protection of civilians. The formation of a galactic court to handle disputes between species. Each term was designed not for revenge, but for lasting peace. Not to punish the council species, but to prevent future councils from rising. When she finished, the chamber was silent. The council representatives looked at the terms, knowing they had no choice but to accept. They had lost the war completely. They had no leverage, no power, no options. These terms are harsh, Zethric said finally. These terms are merciful, Henderson said, his voice hard. We could have destroyed your homeworlds. We could have enslaved your species as you planned to enslave ours. We could have done to you what you have done to others for centuries. Instead, we are offering you a chance to rebuild as equals among equals." Zethric looked at the Admiral for a long moment. "Why? Why show us mercy after what we tried to do?" "Because we are not you," Henderson said simply. "We did not fight this war for conquest or revenge. We fought it because you left us no choice. Now that it is over, we want peace. Real peace, not the false peace of the strong dominating the weak." One by one, the council representatives signed the treaty. Their hands shook as they placed their marks on the documents. Each signature felt like a knife in their pride, but also like a weight lifted from their shoulders. The war was over. They had lost, but they would survive. When the last signature was placed, Lisa looked at Zethric. "The council is dissolved. The Federation will hold its first session in 1 week. All species are invited to send representatives." "Will you lead this Federation?" Zethric asked. "For now," Lisa said, "until proper elections can be held. My title will be Secretary General, not Council Prime, and my power will come from the vote of the member species, not from military might or ancient privilege." The former council representatives left the chamber quietly. They looked like prisoners being released, unsure of their freedom, but grateful for it nonetheless. When they were gone, Henderson turned to Lisa. "Do you think it will work, this Federation?" "I do not know," Lisa said honestly, "but it has to be better than what came before. At least now, every species will have a voice." 3 months later, the first session of the Galactic Federation opened in a new station built in neutral space. 70 species sent representatives. The chamber was filled with aliens of every size, shape, and color, all gathered to participate in governing themselves. Secretary General Lisa Morgan called the session to order. Her first act was to present the Federation Charter, a document that guaranteed rights and freedoms to all member species. The vote to adopt it was overwhelming. The second act was to establish the peacekeeping force. Earth contributed half the ships, while other species volunteered the rest. The fleet would be powerful enough to stop aggression, but not strong enough to threaten the Federation itself. It would be commanded by humans, but governed by Federation law. In orbit above the new station, Commodore Derek Shaw commanded the peacekeeping fleet. He watched his ships patrol the space lanes, keeping traitors safe and pirates away. It was strange to think that just months ago, these ships had been fighting the largest battle in galactic history. Now they were guardians of peace. His communication officer called to him. "Sir, we have reports of a pirate attack in the Outer Rim. Should we respond?" "Send the 4th Squadron," Shaw said, "and tell them to exercise restraint. Disable the pirates if possible. We are peacekeepers now, not warriors." "Yes, sir." Shaw looked out at the stars and allowed himself a small smile. They had done it. They had fought a war and won, not just the battles, but the peace that followed. The galaxy was changing, becoming something better. On Earth, in a small house in the mountains of Colorado, Admiral Kyle Henderson sat in his garden. He had retired after the war, choosing to spend his remaining years in peace. He grew vegetables and read books and tried to forget the faces of the thousands who had died under his command. A young officer came to visit him. Lieutenant Kevin Brooks was fresh from the academy, eager and curious. He had studied the war extensively and had questions that only Henderson could answer. "Sir," Brooks said, sitting across from the old admiral, "everyone wants to know how we won. How did humanity defeat an enemy that outnumbered us and had been in space for centuries longer than us?" Henderson looked at the young man and considered the question carefully. "We won because we understood something the Council did not." "What was that, sir?" "That war is not about honor or glory. It is not about who has the biggest ships or the most weapons. War is about will. It is about being willing to do what must be done to protect what you value." He poured himself a glass of water from a pitcher. "The Council fought to maintain their power. We fought for our survival. The Council worried about their image and their pride. We worried about winning. The Council expected us to follow their rules of war. We made our own rules. But we were also more advanced, Brooks said. Our technology was superior. Technology helps, Henderson agreed. But it is not enough. We were more advanced because we never stopped innovating. The Council became comfortable. They thought they were safe at the top, so they stopped trying to improve. We knew we were at the bottom, so we worked harder. He looked at the mountains in the distance. But the real reason we won was unity. When the Council attacked, humanity did not divide into factions. We did not argue about what to do. We simply decided to win, and then we did what was necessary to make that happen. The Council could not match that kind of focus. Brooks nodded slowly, absorbing the lesson. Do you think there will be another war? Eventually, Henderson said, there is always another war. Some species will test the Federation. Some will try to become dominant. It is the nature of intelligent life to compete for resources and power. And will humanity win again? Henderson smiled grimly. If we must fight, yes, we will win. Not because we are better than other species, but because we remember what it cost to build this peace. We will defend it with everything we have. The young officer left shortly after, heading back to his ship and his duties. Henderson watched him go, hoping that the peace would last long enough for that young man to grow old without seeing war. But he knew the truth. Peace was not a permanent state. It was a choice that had to be made every day, by every species, in every situation. The galaxy had learned that lesson the hard way. The Council had believed they were untouchable. They had believed that their age and experience made them superior. They had believed that humanity was weak because they chose peace. They had learned, too late, that humanity's restraint was not weakness. It was wisdom. And when that restraint was broken, when humanity was forced to show what they were truly capable of, the result was total and absolute victory. The galaxy would not forget that lesson. The ruins of the Council fleet, still floating in space around Earth, served as a permanent reminder. The former Council species, now reduced to equals among many, served as a warning. Do not mistake peace for weakness. Do not mistake restraint for inability. Do not mistake humanity's desire for cooperation as a lack of ability to wage war. Because when humanity fights, they fight to win, and they are very, very good at it. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of the Federation had begun. And humanity, the species that had been dismissed as primitive upstarts, now stood as the galaxy's primary guardians. Not through conquest, but through strength. Not through domination, but through victory so complete that no one dared challenge them again. The Council had come to Earth demanding surrender. They had left begging for mercy. And the galaxy remembered.